Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Sri Vishnu Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki Nanta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Namsika Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Radha Shivasi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giriraj Govardhan ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Mayapur Dham ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai ki Jai Yamuna Mai ki Jai Bhakti Devi ki Jai Tulsi Maharani ki Jai Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai Transcendental Book Distribution ki Jai Samveta Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Ram Shiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Ashtapraishva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, Verse 81. Prachina Barhi King Prachina Barhi Raja Rishi, the saintly king. Praja Sargam, the mass of citizens. Abhirakshane, to protect. Adishyam, after ordering. Putran, his sons. Agamad, departed. Tapase, for undergoing austerities. Kapila Ashramam, to the holy place known as Kapila Ashramam. So I will repeat verse by verse, and you can repeat after me. Prachina Barhi Rajarshi Praja Sarga Birakshane Adishya Putran Agamat Tapase Kapilashramam Prachina Barhi Rajarshi Praja Sarga Birakshane Adishya Putran Agamat Tapase Kapilashramam. Would you like to repeat? Okay.
Prachina Barhi Rajarshi
Prachina Barhi Rajarshi
Praja Sarga Bhirakshane
Praja Sarga Virakshane
Adishya Putran Agamat
Adishya Putran Agamat
Tapase Kapilashramam.
Tapase Kapilashramam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the presence of his ministers, the saintly king Prashinabharhi left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities in the holy place known as Kapilashram. Purport. The word Praja Sarga is very important in this verse. When the saintly king Prashinabharhi was induced by the great sage Narada to leave home and take to the devotional service of the Lord, his sons had not yet returned from their austerities in the water. However, he did not wait for their return, but simply left messages to the effect that his sons were to protect the mass of citizens. According to Viraragavacharya, such protection means organizing the citizens into the specific divisions of the 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. It was the responsibility of the royal order to see that the citizens were following the regulative principles of the 4 Varnas, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, and Ashramas, namely Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasi. It is very difficult to rule citizens in a kingdom without organizing this Varnashrama Dharma. To rule the mass of citizens in a state and keep them in a complete progressive order is not possible simply by passing laws every year in a legislative assembly. The Varnashrama Dharma is essential in a good government. One class of men, the Brahmanas, must be intelligent and Brahminically qualified. Another class must be trained in administrative work, Kshatriya. Another in mercantile business, Vaishya, and another simply in labor, Shudra. These 4 classes of men are already there according to nature, but it is the government's duty to see that all 4 of these classes follow the principles of their Varnas methodically. This is called Abhirakshana, or protection. It is significant that when Maharaja Prashinabharhi was convinced of the goal of life through the instructions of Narada, he did not wait even a moment to see his sons return, but left immediately. There were many things to be done upon the return of his sons, but he simply left them a message. He knew what his prime duty was. He simply left instructions for his sons and went off for the purpose of spiritual advancement. This is the system of Vedic civilization. Sridhar Swami informs us that Kapila Ashrama is located at the confluence of the Ganges and the Bay of Bengal, a place known as Gangasagara. This place is still famous as a place of pilgrimage, and many millions of people gather there every year on the day of Makara Sankranti and take bath. It is called Kapila Ashrama because the Lord Kapilas living there to perform his austerities and penances. Lord Kapila propounded the Sankhya system of philosophy. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Vitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna everyone. Hare Krishna. So we have a very interesting verse today about how the instructions of Narada Muni ended, basically, and King Prashinabharhi, he decided to immediately go to perform austerities in a place called Kapila Ashrama. So we see Narada Muni is a very special personality in Srimad Bhagavatam, in that sense that whoever he meets, whoever he speaks to, in many occasions becomes a devotee. So, and becomes renounced, or in some way or another he makes his life more spiritual. And in this way Narada is very known throughout the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, that he travels around and shares his how he glorifies the Lord. And we know many stories, for example, the story of Dhruva Maharaj, how he instructed Dhruva Maharaj, or how he instructed Prahlad Maharaj, even being in the womb, how he instructed the sons of Daksha to renounce the world, and Daksha was not happy about it, but still they renounced. And Chitraketu also, the story of Chitraketu, how he explained him the situation of his son. He was very fond of getting a son, and after the situation, how his son left the body, Narada also gave him instructions. So Narada is a very, very special personality in Srimad Bhagavatam, and he came at the right time, as he usually does, to instruct the king Prachinabarhi, to tell him a story about Puranjana, and to explain it. This chapter 29 is about explaining these analogies of Puranjana, what it means and how to understand it properly. And after giving all these instructions, it is said that King Prachinabarhi left immediately. He didn't even wait for his sons to return, as we know that his sons went to perform austerities, and they met Lord Shiva, and Shiva gave them instructions how to perform these austerities properly in the waters. So he didn't wait for them to return, although they were performing this training in order to become kings, and because he was a king, he could have instructed them how to, perform the duties of a king. But he didn't wait for them to return, and this is what this text speaks about, that he immediately left after the instructions of Narada. But he left the instructions to his sons through some other people, that what they need to do and how they need to rule. So Narada Muni, it is very important how he appears in the lives of different devotees and how it changes their lives. And Narada Muni symbolizes the spiritual master, of course. He also is a spiritual master of Srila Vyasadeva, that we know that Vyasadeva, he wrote the Vedas and he was not fully satisfied with them, and then he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. So Narada Muni gives this understanding of us, of the importance of the spiritual master in our lives, and how spiritual master is important in order for us to get the proper perspective on life. And of course, in order for spiritual master to give some instruction, he should be in Krishna consciousness, and he should be detached, and that qualifies him to give instructions to others. Because if he's not detached, if he's attached to some fruits, then his instructions will not be perfect. And spiritual master doesn't want us to change for his own selfish motive, that he wants us to change, so that we give him more donations or something like that. No, the goal of spiritual master is for us to become Krishna conscious and to surrender to Krishna and to become dependent on Krishna. So that is his goal, and he has the qualities to give the proper instructions to us. And some people, they may say, well, I don't actually need spiritual master. Why do I need a spiritual master? That's fine, but we know that actually most famous people, for example sports people or some celebrities, they all have their mentors actually, and they pay them money to be corrected. They pay them huge amounts of money. For example, tennis players, they pay huge amount of money so that they could be corrected, so that they can be trained properly in order to achieve success in their career, in their life. So they pay them huge amount of money in order to be corrected. And in our lives, spiritual master may come and he may also give us some corrections. The question is whether we're ready. And that's the whole qualification of the disciple, is that is he ready to accept these corrections, to accept the instructions, and is he ready to change? So this is the qualification of the disciple. The qualification of the spiritual master, that he can give you the proper instructions and proper mood how to perform these instructions. But it's also important that not only the spiritual master is qualified, but also the disciple is qualified. In this case, Prachinabharhi, he was qualified. He accepted Narada Muni as his spiritual master, and he accepted his instructions. So we can understand in our also life if we are ready to change. If we are ready to change our viewpoints and to change our habits also, and if we are ready to change, then it means that we are ready to accept a spiritual master. That's a qualification. We want to change. We want to understand the higher perspective of life, and that higher perspective is actually so much needed, because we may think that things sometimes are quite unfair in our lives, and it may not seem like we deserve what we get, and that's why we sometimes may oppose the destiny. We're not in agreement with the destiny. We think, okay, it's not the way it's supposed to be. But then the spiritual master comes and he says, actually, what you have is what you desired before, and the situations of life that you get is actually what you have done before as well, and that's just the reaction that you receive. So that perspective, Srila Prabhupada also always speaks that we should see things like that. If someone gives us some troubled time and we get some unfair treatment or something like that, we must see that it's our karma actually, that we have done similar things in past life, and therefore this is what we get as a result, as a reaction. And this kind of mood, it also helps us to understand, okay, that everything is actually fair. Everything is actually, it's fine. I don't have to oppose the reality, oppose the laws of nature. The laws of nature are actually perfect. The place where I am is actually perfect. I just need to understand this perspective properly. But on the other hand, the whole existence in this material world is actually quite unfair per se. So we know that we have these material bodies, and the fact that we have this material body already means that it's a result of our ahankara. So we have ahankara, we have a false ego, and this false ego, it reflects in us getting the body, some tool which we can enjoy. And that also means that other living entities in this world also want to enjoy. So this is a place where everyone wants to enjoy. So everyone wants to kind of, it's a kind of a law of the jungle here, you know. Everyone wants to, enjoy as much as possible, and that's why we have so many fighting and so many quarrels here. That everyone has his own interest. So in some way, existence in the material world is unfair by definition. Like you cannot expect much fair things here, because that's just how it is, you know. People come here in this material world in order to enjoy, in order to be the controllers. And it's a great mercy if you see someone who is living another kind of life. So if we see devotees, if we see spiritual master who, like Srila Prabhupada used to sign his letters, I'm always your well-wisher, your ever well-wisher, he was right. So if we meet such people in our lives, we should consider it as a great mercy, and it's a great fortune to meet someone like that. And we should take the whole advantage of this situation. We should appreciate this time with such people, with devotee association. And on the other hand, spiritual master can also give us perspective that, well, actually, you shouldn't be worried so much. You know, it's just the material world. It's it's an ocean of nations. It's an ocean of faults. So you shouldn't be too worried about the faults that you get in your life. You know, it's just the nature of this world. He gives us this perspective. You know, when we get too much absorbed in, oh, he did this or she did that, or I have done this, I have done wrong, there's a fault there's a mistake there. It's fine, you know. This is the world of mistakes. It's human to err, right? To err is human. There's such a saying. It means that there will be mistakes. It's fine. But don't get too serious about these mistakes, you know. Don't get too much absorbed into, oh, I have done this mistake, it must be the end of the world or something, you know. So spiritual master gives us such perspective as well. And he also reminds us about our position in this world, that we are minute part and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And our position is to actually serve Krishna. We shouldn't be challenging, we shouldn't be puffed up in this world, we shouldn't be challenging God. The Supreme Reality is much higher than we are, much more powerful. We are Jiva Tattva, you know. That means that we can be influenced by different energies in this world. So we should understand our position in that regard, and this is the role of a spiritual master, of the devotees, to remind us about this position, that we are small parts and parcels, and our duty and our the only proper activity or relation to this world is through service. There's no other proper way to relate to this world. We should be serving others and serving Krishna. So the mood is also given. Spiritual master gives us the mood. He gives us the understanding, the sambandha, who we are, but he also gives us the mood, in which mood we should be serving Krishna. And it's a sweet mood. Krishna is our best friend, and he's always with us. He's full of sweet qualities, and this path is actually described in the bhajans of our acharyas as Kevala Ananda Kanda, which means that it is full of ananda. When we properly see this practice, this bhakti yoga process, we will see that it's actually full of ananda, full of ecstasy, and full of happiness, if we see it properly, in a proper angle. So spiritual master also reminds us about the importance of time, you know, and the time here is, in this context, is that for King Prachinabarhi, it is the time to take up the third step of his life. Vanaprastha ashram. So Vanaprastha ashram is not an easy ashram to take, of course, because people need to start detaching from what they have been engaged in their whole life. And I heard from senior devotees, it's not always easy to detach from, so many things in your life. So, but like I said, the Bhakti Yoga process is full of ananda, and if we put the right perspective to the detachment process and concentrate on the sweet path of Bhakti Yoga, then it will not be so difficult. It actually becomes nice and happy. So Kevala Ananda Kanda. And so for King Prachinabarhi, now is the time to take up Vanaprastha ashram, and he does so immediately. But Srila Prabhupada writes in his commentary that very important word or word expression is Praja Sarga, the mass of citizens, in this verse. So Praja Sarga means that there are many citizens in the kingdom, right? And someone has to control all these citizens. It's not so easy, right? It's not so easy to rule. I mean, all the great kings, Raja Rishi, they call the saintly kings, they were performing, they were actually getting trained for quite a long time in order to start taking on their duties of ruling the kingdom. And it's basically, it's not so easy to rule the mass of citizens, and somehow this needs to be controlled. And Srila Prabhupada writes nicely in this commentary that it is very difficult to rule citizens in a kingdom without organizing Varnashram Dharma. To rule the mass of citizens in a state and keep them in a complete progressive order is not possible simply by passing laws every year in a legislative assembly. The Varnashram Dharma is essential in a good government. So Varnashram Dharma is something without which it will be very difficult to rule. So legislative assembly is basically, so when you just impose legislations to people and then you expect them to follow all these things properly. So basically you give laws, you should do this, you shouldn't do that, and some people think that it's enough to rule the government, that people will follow. But actually Srila Prabhupada says it's not enough. We should have Varnashram Dharma. And Varnashram Dharma, it means a lot of interesting things, but most importantly it means that in our services everyone has got his place in the society, right? And he should take up his place based on his guna karma, so his qualities that he received and his karma which he got by birth, and based on these qualities he should be engaged in service to the society. So that means that he shouldn't strive for more than he deserves, actually. He should strive only for those things that he has qualities for. That's the Varnashram Dharma. So everyone is acting according to what his qualities are, not according to the caste system. Like when you're born in a Brahmanical family, for example, you automatically become a Brahmin. It's not like that. It's actually misunderstood. Throughout the years, this principle became misunderstood like that. That simply by birth you can become a Brahmin, a priest. But most importantly, Varnashram Dharma means a value-based society. And Srila Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Devotion that, and also in the story of Prithu Maharaj, that where Prita Maharaj asks his people who he takes care of, his citizens, he asks them to perform his duties for the pleasure of the Krishna, the Supreme. So Varnashram Dharma is actually all about pleasing Krishna. If we perform our duties without the desire to please Krishna, we actually fall down. That's what Prabhupada says. If we're not pleasing Krishna while we're performing our duties in the Varnashram Dharma, then we fall down. But if we're performing our duties and we're pleasing Krishna, that's when we get promoted. And Prita Maharaj says that, please, my dear citizens, please follow these Varnashram Dharma, and in this way you will help me to achieve my duty to rule properly in this world. And if I attain the heavenly planets, the spiritual, not the spiritual, heavenly planets, as is said there, the higher planetary systems, then all those who are following, who are engaged in this service, they will follow me, Prita Maharaj says. So in this way, the citizens, they follow the ruler if they follow what he says. They will follow him even after death. Like that. So that's the idea of Varnashram Dharma. And if we look at the society now, I mean, it gives us a little bit perspective of things which may not be so as we expect, or, you know, the first situation where I got a little culture shock about this principle was when after university, I started working in a company which had a warehouse, and they were making some hard goods in this warehouse, and I was responsible for making sure that the products are done in a quality way, in an ethical and quality way. So we had an audit in the company, and the auditor noticed that some people are spitting on the floor in the warehouse. You know, just like workers, they are simple people, and sometimes they do things like that. You know, they just spit on the floor in the warehouse, which is not good for the products, you know, which you're trying to sell to your customers, you know, to your clients. So the auditor noticed that during the audit, and he brought it up during the after audit meeting, and we started thinking, how should we correct this situation? And yeah, so one of the managers, he suggested an idea. What should we do? And he said, why shouldn't we put a sign on the wall saying, please do not spit? I thought, really? Do you need a sign for that? And that's where I got really culture shock. And he was all serious in this proposal. This is what we actually need to do. We need to put a sign, do not spit. And I was like really surprised, you know, is that really how we should change things around if we want, you know, people not to do such things? Because spitting is just one side, you know, of the whole culture, you know. Spitting is just an element of what other things people may do. They may be swearing, they may be, you know, misusing other people and exploiting others as well, you know. So yeah, I thought that's just an effect of something more fundamental, spitting on the floor. It's, if you put a sign, I don't know if it's going to change. Okay, maybe they stop spitting, but they may do other things, you know, which is not so good. But they will stop spitting, yes. Jai, Shishi Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai. So I thought, if we start thinking like that, then we probably should put like the whole wallpapers on all walls of the things that they don't need to do, you know. The whole list, you know, do not do this, do not do that, do not do this, do not do that. So that was a bit shocking for me to hear such a solution. But yeah, somehow it was decided like that. But then I started thinking, okay, I mean, this is the proper way? I mean, can't we just speak to people and, you know, ask them to become a little bit more pure, more clean in their dealings with others, in their dealings with the products and things like that. But apparently it became to me that people are not so brave, or maybe it's not so in a culture to speak about these things. We don't have values that we can impose to other people, that we may sometimes from the top management point of view, it's not always easy to speak about the values to people, Why shouldn't I spit, Why shouldn't you spit on the floor? Okay, this is not hygienic, but yeah, why shouldn't you swear in a warehouse? Okay, it's not good for the relationships, but it's all about the values, and it brings up the whole paradigm of topics, It's not just, why you shouldn't do this, why you shouldn't do that. It's about the values that people have. So, and it's not easy to speak about these topics with the people who want all to be free, we are all gods, in this world. So it was shocking a little bit. But Varnashrama Dharma is actually, when I started thinking and meditating on it, is that actually making people's lives value-based. Automatically, when people base their lives on some values, some higher purposes in their life, then they automatically behave properly. You don't need to tell them, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. They will behave normally, Why? Because they want to satisfy Krishna, and they know if I'm gonna do that, then Krishna will not be happy. So it's all about making Krishna happy. Yeah. So another consideration of mismanagement is the quite popular notion, I think, in the nowadays society of overpopulation. We have this Prajasarga, the mass of citizens, and some people, ruling classes, they may say that, the population is growing massively in the world right now, and only about 40 years old in 1986 we had 5 billion of people on the planet, and now we have 8 billion people. So in 40 years we have grown 3 more billion. Can you imagine that? So, and some people may start saying, okay, we have overpopulation, we should control the birth, we should control, how we consume our food and things like that. And we don't have enough food for everyone. We don't have enough space for everyone. This mentality of the ruling classes that gets to the minds that, they say that food production increases arithmetically, while population increases geometrically, in geometrical progression. That means it's multiplied. And arithmetically it is plus, 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 plus. So the food supplies increase is much less than the increase of population, right? But according to the Vedic viewpoint, the earth can produce an almost unlimited amount of life necessities. So this is actually, Srila Prabhupada refused this idea of overpopulation. It actually said overpopulation is simply mismanagement of the resources that we have, and misunderstanding of how we should be dealing with these resources, which is also Varnashrama system. We speak about Varnashrama. And there are 2 things which I'll just mention, the problems of this mismanagement. One is unsustainable exploitation of the resources. There were studies made of the hunger in Africa. We know that Africa is a continent where the hunger is predominant, but there was hunger in the early 1970s, and it was revealed by the studies that every country affected by the hunger had within its borders the agricultural resources to feed its people. They had all the resources available. It's not that they didn't have food or they didn't have means to produce their food. They had everything, the study showed. But much of the best land was being misused for production of exportable crops for cash. Basically, what they were doing, they were producing things that they were planning to sell to other countries, but they were not able to feed themselves, you know. So Srila Prabhupada also noted this fact during his visit to Mauritius in 1975 in a lecture. He said, so I see your Mauritius island, you have got enough land to produce food grains. So there's enough land. He then challenged, I understand that instead of growing food grains, you are growing sugarcane for exporting. Why? You first of all grow your own eatables, and if there is time and if your population has sufficient food grains, then you can try and grow other fruits and vegetables for exporting. That seems like a reasonable idea, isn't it? So basically, then you can sort out your hunger. Maybe you will not be able to sell your stuff, but at least you will be able to fill your belly, you know, to live and eat. So Srila Prabhupada noted this idea as well. The other problem of this, misunderstood notion of overpopulation is overconsumption of the resources, of natural resources that we have. And also in the same lecture in Mauritius, Srila Prabhupada said, I have seen in the Western countries that they are growing food grains for the animals. And the food grains are eaten by the animals. And the animal is eaten by a man. What are the statistics? The animals are eating food grains, but the same amount of food grains can be eaten by so many men. And statistically speaking, 90% of edible grains harvested, for example, in the US, are fed to animals that are later killed for meat. So 90% of all edible grains, 90%, are fed to animals that are later eaten by man. And for every 7 kilograms of that grain fed to beef, 7 kilograms of grains goes to feed the animals, and only half of kilo of meat is produced. So you're wasting 7 kilograms of grains to produce half of kilo of meat for a person. Although you could have given this 7 kilograms of grains to other people to eat, and they would be happy with their food, you know. So this is overconsumption of natural resources. So therefore, Mahatma Gandhi, he used to say that the world has enough for everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed. Right? So if we follow the principle of Varnashram Dharma, and if we consume what we need, absolutely, not the amount of greed that we have, not to satisfy our greed, then we will be able to actually achieve many things. And statistically also, it is said that a simple calculation shows that 5 billion of men, women, and children on Earth could be placed within the 7,100 square meters of the state of Texas. So what we're speaking about overpopulation, but 5 billion of people can fit in the whole state of Texas, just in the US. And each person will be occupying 140 square meters of space if the 5 billion will be placed in the state of Texas. So what overpopulation are we speaking about? It's just a false premise completely, and mismanagement. In the same way, there's also an aspect when, our planet is, we call her Bhumi Devi. In Greek philosophy, they call him Gaia. Yeah, so it's actually a living entity. And we know the story of Pritha Maharaj and Bhumi Devi, right? That after the ruling of King Vena, there were, he was doing many things. He banned the sacrifices, he banned all worship and all offerings to the demigods, and therefore the Bhumi Devi, she was not really happy with with the current state of things, and as a result, what happened? She stopped producing, she stopped giving fruits, she stopped prospering, she stopped giving flowers and fruits, and there was dryness, not enough rains, So people were, when Pritha Maharaj, when the Brahmanas dealt with this issue and they gave birth to Pritha Maharaj, and then when they killed Maharaj Vena, Pritha Maharaj, when he saw this, he was shocked, what's the problem? And then he started, he had actually to make a deal with Bhumi Devi, so that she, to understand what is wrong, what is the problem, and she said that, the people, the rules that Maharaj Vena imposed, it's a huge burden. I'm not inspired, to prosper anymore. I'm not willing to give anything with such a burden on this planet, with such people who have such a mindset. Yeah, so we can see that the planet also is a living organism, and she's not happy when we're doing misdeeds, and when we are, in essence, when we are not following Varnashram Dharma. So in this way, Varnashram Dharma is also actually based on sacrifices, yajna, and when the rulers are being directed by the Brahmanas. So Brahminical culture and God-centered culture. So yeah, this is the idea, and maybe the last thing which I'll mention is that the rulers, the one word that is mentioned here is the protection, abhirakshana. So the quality of King Pritha Maharaj, in one of the verses was described as Daita. Daita means that he is merciful. So the kings, they are merciful. Yeah? So they're giving protection to others as a service to the Lord. So they satisfy, we spoke that Varnashram Dharma is all about satisfying Krishna. Yeah, when we are performing our duties, it's all about satisfying Krishna. So Pritha Maharaj, his idea was that by serving, by giving protection to the society, he would satisfy Krishna. And if Krishna is satisfied with his service, and if his citizens are following his instructions, then everyone will get benefited and elevated on the higher planetary systems. So he not only gave protection to the citizens, but also to the planet, right? And the way how the ruler should see his citizens as his children, actually. So he should take care of them as his children. And it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that one shouldn't give shelter to others, and giving shelter means like you become a ruler, you become a king, or you become even a parent, or you become a spiritual master, if you are not able to elevate this person's consciousness to Krishna consciousness. So you shouldn't take up this duty if you cannot achieve that. So that's the goal of the ruler. That's a big duty, and sometimes it's quite tough. It's big responsibility. They sometimes have to make unpopular decisions because of that. They sometimes have to punish people, others, living entities. So it's not easy, but it's also rewarding. Therefore, yeah, we have to respect the rulers if they take up these duties, and those who take responsibilities. It's should be praised. So, yeah, ultimately, the idea, what Prabhupada mentions in the Nectar of Devotion, is that, yeah, I mean, maybe we don't know what is our Varna right now, that's fine, but even if we don't know what is our Varna, if we're not completely clear, Srila Prabhupada says it's not a problem. You just stay where you are and do your duties, what you have already, for the satisfaction of Krishna. And in this way, things will get adjusted automatically. You know, you become happy, and your position also, if it needs to be changing, it will change. So do whatever you're doing, but do it for the satisfaction of Krishna. And that is the ultimate solution. So if we're not able to completely understand how to perform our svadharma right now, it's not a problem. There is a solution that in the end it will bring us to the proper situation of realizing our nature. So I guess the main idea which I wanted to share is that we have to follow, everything is given to us. All the knowledge is given to us, and Srila Prabhupada gave us this knowledge, and he wanted us to understand it ourselves. But to understand it, we of course need to surrender to this knowledge. And then follow. So surrender and follow. And then everything will be successful and everyone will be happy. And Srila Prabhupada mentioned in one of the purports, when he was speaking about Lord Ram. Lord Ram lived in Dvapara Yuga, in Treta Yuga. And when Lord Ram was ruling, it was like Satya Yuga. So he actually made Treta Yuga into Satya Yuga. He transformed it. Why? Because of his ruling. It was so perfect. And he also says, Srila Prabhupada, that even Kali Yuga can become like Satya Yuga if we follow the process of Krishna consciousness, and if we strive to create, the proper culture and Varnashram Dharma. So, like that, thank you so much for your attention. Hare Krishna. Any questions, maybe? Prabhu? Yes?
Я хотел бы немножко сказать там пару слов для ясности дела. Просто материальный мир, он Господом создан для живых существ, которые не хотят с ним жить. С Господом, временно. И получается, что тут все живое, тут невозможно никого не эксплуатировать. Тут ты просто какой-то тут нужно выбирать, или ты эксплуатируешь, предлагаешь Кришне, или ты просто так делаешь все. И в принципе, сама идея предлагать Кришне. Иначе если даже ты предлагаешь Кришне, то и вот этот риск прорежиссирует, и ты прорежиссируешь. Да, просто нету другого варианта, нету выхода. И получается, что вот это сейчас объяснять, вот это всем живым существам, как надо жить правильно, они не поймут, почему. То, что, это все бесполезно. Может только тот объяснять, который имеет святость, он этим живет. То, что, начиная с инорвы круга, там находится красивая девушка, духовного мира, просто в инорве круге. И у нее есть полностью все знания, все науки. Даже можно инорве кругу милостью одарить, и она будет петь Харе Кришна и так далее. И как, допустим, Господь Чайтанья...
Может быть, я переведу пока, если вы не против. Давайте.
Как Господь Чайтанья, он собаку. Помните, да? Она пела Харе Кришна потом. Просто у нас есть все знания. Так что просто вот эта милость, Прабхупада и милость Вайшнава, это единственное, что может спасти, больше ничего.
Prabhu was saying that in this world it's actually a world of exploitation, and it's impossible to live here otherwise, because everyone will be exploiting inevitably someone. We eat fruits and vegetables, the animals eat other animals, so it's a world of exploitation. So the only thing is what we need to do, is just to offer things to Krishna and offer this process to Krishna. And if we start explaining to other people how to live, they will not be able to understand. We have to be those who follow this first, this knowledge, and we have to be saintly in order for other peoples to understand this and start following. So Prabhu says that the only way is to actually get this mercy of Srila Prabhupada and take up the process of Krishna consciousness. So that was I'm just translating what Prabhu is saying. But to reflect on that, maybe in a short way, is that, yeah, of course, I mean, I remember one situation which His Grace Vatsala Prabhu, he's from Russia. He is preaching to outside people a lot, and he once said one story when he was preaching to the big audience. One person asked him a question. There's so many books, so many nice books. We have Bible, we have Quran, we have Vedas, we have this. So much knowledge is available, but why is everyone is not following it? That was the question that was challenged to Vatsala Prabhu. And what Vatsala Prabhu did, he thought, well, he asked back, but why don't you follow this? Everything is available to you, but why don't you follow this? And the person said, well, because I don't see any example. I don't see any example of good life, of that this life can bring me to happiness. It's all just rules and regulations, but I don't see a happy example of this person who is able to live and be happy like this. So that's why, it reminds me of the fact that Srila Prabhupada wanted us, when he created this society, he wanted for us to achieve qualities, to get qualities of, devotional qualities. And he wanted to create Brahmins who would be ideal people for the society, so they could give example for others to follow. So we have to become these people. It's up to us to give that example, for others to be inspired to follow, and for that, to give that example, we have to live like that. So we have to first take that mercy which Srila Prabhupada gave us, and then somehow try to share it with others. And the idea of education, the purpose of education, according to His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, is change of values. If we see that people start changing their values in their lives, then we have achieved the goal of education. But first we have to change our values, of course. Any other questions?
Вы говорили, что когда Вьясадева написал Веды, он был неудовлетворен до написания Шримад Бхагавата. А вот вайшнавы кем должны считать Вьясадеву? Верховной личностью Господа или преданным Господу?
The question is, Vyasadeva was not satisfied, as was mentioned, after writing down the Vedas. Only after writing Srimad Bhagavatam he became satisfied. So how should we see Srila Vyasadeva, as Supreme Personality of Godhead or as a servant of God? According to my understanding, Srila Vyasadeva is avatar, is literal incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is how I understand. So he's a personality that is, he's given Shakti in order to perform his duty. So he's acting on behalf of Personality of Godhead, like his incarnation. Like that. Does it help?
Вот Шримад Бхагаватам, 7-я песня, глава 9, текст 11, написано, что верховная личность Господа Бога всегда полностью удовлетворен. А написано, когда Дасадева, что он был не удовлетворен. А в другом тексте написано, что всегда удовлетворен.
In the seventh canto, 9th chapter, text 11, Prabhu quotes that it is said that Supreme Personality of Godhead is always satisfied. So that was his question. Why was Srila Vyasadeva not satisfied? I think that the answer is because he is literally incarnation. So he's, I don't know if it's fair to say, someone maybe can correct me, but Shaktivyashavatara, right? So he's Shaktivyashavatara. He's not Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's been given this special authority on behalf of Supreme Personality of Godhead to act, to achieve the result of giving the knowledge to other people. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Any questions? Shall we end here? Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Panchakalpatarvascha kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Если ты пьешь соду из чистой кишки, то проблема нет. Потому что если там ячму жить, то микробы начинают жить. Если не вы нормально? Ну, все равно начинает. Ну ты что? Мы все. Это одна женщина, спасибо вам большое. Шьяма, машине. Не, ну то шьяма это не точно. Все круто. Да. Ну, отлично, спасибо вам, что вы нам не ходили картошку. Не делает ревизита. У нас это много. Вы бывает брали картошку, я думаю, красавчик. Это самое. Ну, просто хуйня. Думаешь, а, шмат, видите? Сколько сам студия себе система называется. Я себе канал эти надо. Получается, что мы вступаем, что все отменилось. Ситуация. Допустим, там у две женщины, дети, она проходит свои боли, дети такие уже проходят. Это шкила. Потом следующая ситуация, выбор самолета. И таких ситуаций, ты же бачишь, бывают, да. И получается, что очень осталось 4000 крон жизни, и только 11 цивилизованных. У тебя 391 тысяча, кстати, опыт проходит. И им объясняют, что бесполезно. Это только Махарадж ездил на Амазонку, и тем чертям проповедовал. Вот то у них разорает. У них есть мозги, у них есть ты красивая девочка. Ты просто не говорят, да, чтобы у них там эти тела. Тут он начинает быть критичным. Оце і все. Так мені кажеться, що ці 9 тисяч, оці цивілізовані, 1090 тисяч, просто йдуть з тіла в тіло, потім. І оце єдине, це виспівання стихійно. І якщо святий розуміє, то це все не надо. Тоже це там Бога. Как это можно поменять? Если ты сделал педагогический метод перевожу, я живу в селе, там есть 100 девушек. Думаю, надо жениться. Пишу, що тут? Пишу, Господь, забери, приходить Вася. Та там ще шкаф є. А, ну добре, ще шкаф. І так приходить їх 100. Потім говорю, добре. Та саме тут. Це просто навіть опит. Господь, ну, його план. Тут полностью его план. Полностью.
Да, с одной стороны это так, с другой стороны, ну, я вот недавно смотрел вас, объяснял этот момент, он говорит, что все происходит от Бога. Да, как бы, с одной стороны, говорится, ни одна травинка не шелохнется без его ведома, да? С другой стороны, он дает нам свободу выбора тоже. И он эту свободу ценит. И когда мы совершаем какие-то поступки, которые может казаться не очень адекватными, да? Он говорит, в принципе, я этого не хочу. То, что он хочет, он пишет, чем в Бхагавадгите. Но мы можем делать не так, как он хочет. Но он смотрит на это и говорит, ну, если хочешь, ну делай, если это твое желание. Поэтому те плоды, которые человек получает, он получает по закону кармы. А карма — это закон Бога. То есть одновременно это как бы он за это ответственен, но одновременно не он. То есть это мы сами ответственны, одновременно с этим.
Ты правда просто, я это вопрос задал видел. И мне кажется, что мне что проблема, потому что может вот их 391 тысячи тоже есть, или как-то, ну типа проценты хоть свободы выбора, но больше у 9 тысяч там конкретно. Ты правильно говоришь, что есть какая-то свобода. Даже вот его даже болезненно. Но она именно уже ограничена его классом развития. Что еще нравится, что здесь ты никого не судишь. Вообще, это просто не занимается вообще. Обычно там балака, потом такие, ну уже предназначено Богом, что ли такие. Это ж опыт его, понимаешь?
Спасибо большое.
Ну суд перевязать. Она просто постесняет, потом выводит тушки, потом это быстрее, потом дела по-другому. Так если есть микробы, я вот все, да нет, это не панацея. Есть карма, это точно. И бывает, что есть что-то следует. Но ты не читаешь, ты же не как знаешь. Отца выпала.
Интересно. Да, я слышал, что сода полезна. Даже ей зубы отбеливают, если что, можно прям.
Потом что-то вот под мышцы не пахнет никак. Потом много это самое соду выпускаешь и стоит общая активность. Ну ладно, чтобы она была форма не изменена. Молодец киевский, не нормально будет. Я ничего не поменял. Поэтому есть какие-то то, что это мнение. Что там ваша любимая не приехала?
У нее занятия все. Занятия, она тоже в университете.
На онлайн.
Да, онлайн.
Коркица. Так что вот это все, я просто не просто смотрю. Смотри, еще мне есть такая 10 секунд. Мы энергопарничные. Мы здесь никогда не жили. Это материальный мир, это сад, то, чего нет. И потом добавляешь, что оно есть, но оно временно. Отца добавка, что он стоит. Все чувствуют такие примеры. Мы с тобой сидим в зале, в театре, дивимся спектакль. Там, допустим, берет артисты. Хай, допустим, там просто берет даже куклу. Он артист. Хай быть артисты, там стоит ребята. И я сижу, прямо каким-то героем там по гаражу. Прямо ты смотри, у нас кино, такой жизнь нельзя. Так вот мы находимся с це не мнение, конечно. Мы здесь никогда не были. Мы такие все планы, я просто не задумал, что это как сон. Понимаете? Получится, что в этой стране, тебя киномату разбился так пошло. Понимаешь, получается, что я и так понимаю, что это все-таки Махаш. Тем не менее, все миры реально существуют. И тут ходят реально килограммы люди, но я просто задумался всем телом. Что это? Такое существует? Или это душа?
Я слышал тоже такое рассуждение, что на самом деле душа, она всегда в духовном. Мы она невозможна.
Как невозможно? Я только задумал.
То есть проблема в том, что мы опустили свое внимание сюда, иначе это 16 лет. Но мы на самом деле находимся.
Да. Но мир реально существует. Тут ходят там отношения.
Да. И это и есть сон.
Да. Просто что есть национальное объяснение всегда. Тут надо просто порой думаешь, прикинь, такие величия, такие красивые. Мы тебе все делали даже гадости, ты как живой. Мочи. Надо в этой жизни я наверное, проникнула, да. Просто проникнула. У них довольно большой. Вот тебе не говорят, что такое. Чтобы типа, просто понять, что просто сейчас надо выйти. Зачем? Ну, часто мы сейчас, представьте, что ты говоришь, часто находишься в любимом, там, что находится, там, говоришь, мама, как-то не так. Я так не играю. Я помню свои детства, мы там куда-то и подбежать, не надолго. Ну, красота, ну, чуть-чуть. Не, просто что, точно,
Hare Krishna, thank you for coming. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, sorry. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, you break this. Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, but there was a Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. I know.
I do want করছি সুইচ না কোনো আপা আছে কোন মানে हाँ हाँ देखो अच्छा हाँ ठीक है चलो हम पर কথা হচ্ছে না মন্দির আছে খাইনি মজা জানি খাইছেন हाँ हाँ ठीक है हम पर কথা আছে है।